We're coming for our first pose, which is Sukhasana. We're already in it, but we're going to work in a slightly different way. So if you've got a couple of bricks, that would be good to have. If you don't have a couple of bricks, then some foam pads would be fine, or you can put your hands onto a couple of books. So I'm just going to move slightly across so that I can show these actions. So the first way we're going to work is by extending forwards. Now you can see that I've come off my support, and it may be that you're fine to sit on the floor to do this. Obviously my knees are not the same height as my hips, they're slightly higher, and yours might be higher still, but if it's kind of the knees are up here and it makes the back do this C shape, then certainly sit on to a couple of foam pads for this. If this is really difficult because of knee discomfort, then sit onto the seat of a chair, crossing your legs at your shins, and you can get the same actions onto the bricks. So I'm just going to show, we're going to lift and extend upwards, moving the navel back, and bring the hands forwards. Then we're going to turn to the right, extending, back to the center, to the left, extending, back to the center, and then we're going to change legs and do in the other direction. So I showed you from the side so you could see those actions, but I'm going to face you now. Okay, so have your right leg crossed in front of your left leg so that we're all starting out with the same action. If you find that this is uncomfortable on your feet, and certainly if you've got tight hips, then you might find that your feet are a little compressed by this, then put a blanket underneath your feet. Sit up on a height if you feel you need to sit up on a height. There should be no discomfort in your knees when you do this, so if your knees are uncomfortable, then you would move your feet further forwards and your knees closer together. Okay, so just place your bricks and lift up. So place your bricks in front of your right shin and lift up. Lift your sternum chest. And then we start to walk the bricks forwards. So extend your bricks forwards, keep your abdomen back towards your spine, lengthen and extend your frontal body, and breathe. So we're not trying to take the head to the floor, we're not getting too overexcited by this. There may well be a sensation in your hips, and that is most likely to be in your right hip if you have your right leg crossed in front. If you've got a tight hip, it doesn't matter which leg is crossed in front, you'll feel this in your tight hip. So breathe, extend your breastbone, come back, and we're going to go to the right. So take your right hand out about in line with your right hip and your left hand out to the side so that you're extending and lengthening through your left flank. So rotate your navel to the right, lengthen your left flank. Keep the movement smooth, keep the breath smooth. Come back to the center, extend forwards again. Lengthen your breastbone, draw your shoulder blades down towards your back waist. Then come to your left. So stretch your left hand out in line with your left hip. So if you're using books, you would just have to lift those and move them as you come along. Extend out and lengthen with your right side flank. So just observe where the tightnesses are in your body. And sometimes we have to be there for a little while so that we can make these observations. They don't come automatically. Our instant feeling is, all right, I've done that, so I want to get out now. But sometimes you have to stay for a little bit longer. Okay, come back to the center and change the cross of the legs. So another thing about the observation of the body is that you can observe the differences one side to the other, and we can find out a little more about the asymmetries in our own bodies from these actions. So lift up, you can press your fingertips down onto your support or onto the floor and lift out of your pelvis, and then extend forwards. So again, if there's any knee discomfort with this action, you would bring your feet forwards and come a little more like that. If it's difficult to get down to the bricks, that's fine. You can come forwards to the seat of a chair. Not a problem, really. You know, we have to work within our frame that is our current frame. And if we work within it, we can extend that framework and make it a bigger frame. All right, so extend forwards. So we want to get the openings in the body, and that doesn't happen if we just pander to our egos and think that, oh well, I can get my head to the floor, I can come into the full pose. You have to be honest with yourself in these actions. So breathe through the nostrils and feel if there's a difference one side to the other. Is one hip tighter than the other hip? Feel the rotational action in the hip socket when we come forwards like this. Maybe your back is a little bit tight. In that case, you might want to take your hands onto the seat of the chair. But open and broaden through the base of the spine, the back of the pelvis. All right, coming up, and we're going to the right. So extend the right hand out in line with the right hip and stretch your left hand out. So this is a very strong action on that left side flank. Acknowledge that. Don't pull or force it, just breathe into it and come a little more when you are able to. That might not be today. All right, come back to the center. Again, feel any differences in the body. And then come to your left side. So as we stretch that right flank, we're making sure that the right buttock bone doesn't become very light. So we're anchoring that right buttock bone down onto the floor. There should be no discomfort in the knees. If there is, then you need to adjust your pose. Maybe that will mean adjusting your hands. Maybe that will mean adjusting where your feet and your legs are. All right, come back to the center. Extend forwards. Look forwards. Release your armpits down. See if you can get a little more action before we come out of the pose. Well done. Okay, so we're going to come for Virasana now. We're going to use a brick to sit on, but you might need higher support. Those of you who have difficulty in this Virasana action can do the arm actions seated onto a chair. So we have worked like this recently with a brick rather than the foam pads, but you know that if it's not high enough, you put foam pads underneath that brick to make it a higher support for you. So you can see that I'm spreading my toes, putting my thumbs onto my heels and my fingers onto my toes. So hopefully you'll have got your brick or some foam pads ready. Your brick goes between your inner ankles and your feet go straight back. Have your knees together, Look at your feet, make sure your feet are going straight back from there and that your inner thighs are together. Now when we sit down into this pose, we're going to pull the flesh of the calves out and back to create space behind the knee joint. So then when we're in the pose, the thighs should still be together. Then you pull your toes apart. So pull your little toe, pull your big toe on each foot so that we separate the toes and get even spacing between the toes so that the feet can become involved in the action in this pose. Then we're going to lift and lengthen the shins. So you can see that that right leg has now become probably an inch, maybe a couple of centimeters longer. So I want to even that out by lifting and lengthening. So we're not lifting the kneecap, we're lifting the head of the shin so that we can get more of the shin bone and the shin area onto the floor. Then we push down with the little toes in order to get more of the outer shin, this area here, pushing down towards the floor. It's this action that enables us to come lower and come into the more advanced actions. Supta Virasana, a reclining version of this pose, challenging for many of us, the bodies that are used to sitting in chairs from a very early age. All right, so sitting onto your brick, roll your shoulders back and down, lift your chest, open across your collarbones. We're going to come into a Garudasana action. So I'm just going to show you how that's going to work. We're going to take the right arm over the left, we're going to push, and those who are able to will wrap the hands. Okay, so let's do that together. Take your arms up, let your shoulder blades release down. Have your arms shoulder width apart, elbows shoulder width apart. Relax the sides of the neck and lift your right arm up over your left arm. Now this is the important bit. Wrapping the hands is not the important bit. This is the important bit. Pushing the arms against one another. So the higher up you can get, the more traction you can get. But for many of you, the arms will come here, not higher up than that. And that is also absolutely fine because you work with that and you can still get quite a good action. But those who can take the arms so that you are slightly higher up, then you will get a little more action in your upper back region. So push the arms, then if you're able to wrap the hands, wrap your hands. Once you're in position, then those who find it reasonably easy to wrap the hands, your job is not ended. You have to lift your elbows and move your thumbs away from your face. Breathe. So get this opening in the shoulder joint region. So shift the elbows forwards, those who've got the hands wrapped. Releasing. Roll your shoulders back and down, put your thumbs on your heels, your fingers on your toes, let your shoulders relax down away from your earlobes. Breathe. Okay, other side. Arms up, so left arm over the top. So at this point, we're just pushing. And it may be that you're pushing here. These upper backs get very stiff from our computer work, driving, stress. Lots of things make this a very difficult action. All right, so those who can wrap the hands, you can wrap the hands. Then if you're wrapping easily, lift your elbows, move your thumbs away from the face and focus on your thumbs, those who are wrapping the hands easily. All right, so you have to really lift those elbows. If this comes easily, sometimes we can just get out of doing the action in the pose. So you have to make it count, make a difference. Lift and move the elbows forward, so you're shifting those upper back muscles. All right, and releasing. Roll the shoulders back and down. Put your thumbs onto your heels, your fingers onto your toes. Let the shoulders release down. Strong action. Okay, so we're coming into Dandasana. Bring the hands forwards, swing the legs to one side, sit down onto your brick and stretch your legs forwards in a Dandasana action. So extend into your heels, roll the shoulders back and down, spread your toes. Get the inside of your foot as much as possible. You can see I can't get my big toes together because of the shape of my feet, but if I could get my big toes together, then I would be doing so. And you have to use this median line and stretch the sole of the foot away from that median line. So this line down the center here, you're opening out from there. Roll the shoulders back and down, have the fingertips facing forwards, elbows facing back. Breathe. Okay, well done. So we're going to come into an extreme cross-legged action. So this is a modification of Gomukhasana legs, and I'm just going to show you how we're going to work in it. So you're going to start out with your right leg crossed in front of your left, and then you wriggle the feet across until you're coming into this kind of action. Now, some of you will get your knees onto the floor. If you've got very flexible hips, then you will get your knees onto the floor. For some people, this is an absolute no-no, and you're going to possibly be here thinking, well, I've got no idea how I get from here to there. So it might be that for those with difficulties, those who have come into it nicely will find that you're quite comfortable in this. So you can stay in it. Okay. For those who have a little bit of difficulty in this pose, sit up a little higher, and then it might be that it's a little more accessible and you might be here. All right. So you can be here and you can just work at pushing that buttock bone down, that right buttock bone down. So right leg crossed in front of the left leg, either sitting on the floor or sitting on a height. If this is really an impossibility for you, or if you've got a hip replacement, then you would just work in cross legs or seated onto a chair in cross legs. Okay, so we're going to come into a Parvitasana action with the arms. So interlock the fingers, have the right little finger on the outside, make a fist. Turn the palms inside out, and then inhale, extend your arms up. So we have to keep the right sitting bone anchored down. The temptation is to lean to the left, so you need to make the right sitting bone heavy. Breathe, flatten the palms, relax the sides of the neck, soften the facial features. You can even smile if you're able to. Release the hands down, and we're going to change the cross of the legs and change the cross of the arms, the hands. So left leg in front, and you might find one side is, trickier than the other in this. So I like to pull on my shins to get into this pose, because it just gives me that little bit of extra movement. Obviously, you don't force anything in this. Left little finger on the outside. Turn the palms. Inhale. Extend up. Move your upper arms towards your ears. Move your shoulders away from your earlobes. Breathe. Fine inhalation, exhalation through the nostrils. See if that left sitting bone has become a little bit light, and if it has, anchor down into it. Move the abdomen back towards the spine. Move the sacrum into the body so that it supports your spinal column. release the arms down. Just place your fingers by your side for a moment, because you may well have been in this side a little less time than you were in the other. So lift up and see, can you anchor down with that left sitting bone? Lift up, push down with the fingers, anchor down with the left sitting bone. Okay, and release the legs.